Hello everybody, Functional Programming Tutor here. Today we're going to go over, in my very first video, Python syntax, comments, the print function, because it's very important for debugging, that sort of thing, as well as a few data types and how to declare variables. So first, comments. This right here is how you make a comment I did that again. I need to disable that functionality. Anyway, this is how you make a comment in Python with that symbol. What comments do is tell the interpreter to ignore everything on the same line that comes after it. So, for example, if I use the print function and run it, it's going to show up, right? But if I then comment it out, it no longer shows up. So the interpreter will ignore it with comments. That's really all there is to say about comments. You can also, if you have, if you do strings, which we'll talk about later, without any context, the interpreter will also ignore it. However, usually we like to do a set of 3 ticks followed by a set of 3 ticks to ignore it. So this will be ignored. And you can do this on multiple lines. Whereas a normal comment, it's only going to ignore what is directly after it on the same line. This can be on multiple lines. Just like that. That's comments. It's pretty simple. Next for Python syntax. So Python does have syntax. It is not a syntaxless language. You can think of syntax as the grammar rules for a programming language. All programming languages will have some form of syntax. Python syntax is more, more or less invisible to the user, though, which is sometimes why it's referred to as a syntaxless language. So let's take, for example, we'll talk about variables here in a second, but I'm just going to declare a couple here. And we'll say if x is less than, well, we'll make it greater than y, and we're just going to have it print x is greater than y. Okay. Now this right here is Python syntax. Python requires indentation. That's how syntax works in Python. So if you have this, for example, it's highlighting it on my IDE is highlighting it under red because it will not work. It's not going to do anything other than give me an error. But as soon as I tab over to indent or space to indent, if you want little indents, now it's going to read, okay, so is x bigger than y? Yes, it is. So it's going to print that out. X is greater than y. So in short, this bad, this good. All right, moving on. The print function. So you've seen me use this a few times already, but the print function can be used for a myriad of things. You can print out a simple string just like this, and it comes out, hello world. Awesome. You can also do math inside of a print function. So we'll say print x plus y, for example. This is going to add x and y and display the result of 15. 10 plus 5 is indeed 15. You can do tons of other things with the print function. Anytime I do something new with the print function that I haven't gone over yet, I'll explain what I'm doing. But for now, that's the print function in a sort of short, concise manner. You can also, if you want to, use a console to say figure out what this variable is. You can do that. And in VS Code at least, you just highlight everything, shift enter, it'll bring up the console. And now I can say, well, what is numbers? Numbers is 10. What is x? X is 10. Okay. Um, Personally, I prefer just printing because printing will help you debug later if you're trying to figure out, say, why an if statement isn't working. Uh, maybe I said greater than and accidentally typed less than. Well, now this message isn't going to display because x is not less than y, right? So it doesn't display. And if I'm trying to figure out why, well, I can print out these two or use another print function in here, or realistically, what I should do is have an else statement here. But we'll go over that in a later lesson. So for now, this is what print functions do. Um, and anytime I use it for something new, I'll explain it. On to data types and variables. So 3 of the data types, there is potentially more than 3 depending on what you consider a data type, but we have integers, floats, and strings. So integers are just whole numbers, if you remember that from any math class. Floats are decimals, which is why I've named that variable decimals. In Python, to my knowledge, they're just all called floats because unlike other languages like C++, for example, you don't have to declare what kind of decimal you're putting in. You can just type 10.2 and assign it to a variable. And then strings, of course, are words or letters or anything like that. So, how do you declare a variable? Well, you saw me do it up here. But the important thing to know is you need a name for the variable, which cannot start with a number. So you can't say 2 ways. I mean, yeah, you can see it. It's already telling me it's wrong. Cannot do that. You can start it with a capital letter. And a capital letter is different than the lowercase version. These are not the same. Everything is case sensitive. You can, of course, start a variable name with lowercase letters, as I've done before. And you can start variables with an underscore. These are all valid ways to start variables. Aside from starting a variable, you can name a variable anything you want. So if we take x, I can now put in 1, 2, 3, 4, and it will equal 1, 2, 3, 4. Cool. Okay. So with the print function, I'll show you let's do the underscore, because as you might notice, it's grayed out for whatever reason. In this IDE, that just means I haven't used it yet. And now I've used it. So it'll display 12. Now let's take, I'm just going to make a few copies here. And we're going to make this one, oh, I named it numbers. There we go. And then we'll make this one the lowercase numbers. Just to show you that all 3 of these will display something different. So if you look, underscore number is 12, numbers with a capital is 11, and numbers lowercase is 10. So in order, number lowercase is 12, yep. Numbers capital is 11, yep. And numbers lower is 10. Okay. You can name these anything you want. I'll go ahead and print out actually the x1, 2, 3, 4, just so you can see that as well. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can name them anything you want. As I showed you earlier, you can also do math in them. And that's really it for variables. The important thing to know is that they can be named anything you want, as long as it starts with a lowercase letter, an uppercase letter, or an underscore. We can talk about conventions and stuff like that later. So let me think here. End of the video, let's do a quick example that's going to incorporate some stuff from this. You can already see comments are incorporated in here all over the place. Let's do... Let's just add a variable up here because that's where x and y are, and we'll call it z. So something else that you can do with variables is you can store the result of a math operation in a variable. So we'll say, let's just do z equals x minus y. So now 10 minus 5 should give us 5, right? So if we come down here and we just print out z, that should give us 5. Now, it's important to know that I can put this print statement to ask for the result of z anywhere in this, so long as it is below where I've declared z. Okay? If I try to print the result of z up here, I'm going to get an error, and it's going to say that z has not been declared. And that's because whenever a program is run, it looks at your code line by line and decides what it's going to do with it. Okay, so when it sees the comment operator, it's going to say, okay, ignoring the rest of that line. Sweet, moving on. Comment operator, okay, ignoring that. A set of string operators that has no context, ignoring that, moving on. Okay, x is going to equal 10. Perfect, we have that stored in memory now. Okay, y is going to equal 5. Perfect, we have that stored in memory now. Z is going to equal x minus y. Okay, great. Now I can print out that function here. Excuse me, that math there. I can print it out here. I can, anywhere from here down, I can say print z, and it's going to give me the answer to z. So as we can see, 5. Now, for simplicity's sake, normally I would just do what's called concatenating or concatenation, something along those lines. I would concatenate inside of this to add some words to make it more clear that this is z, because you can see that out of context 5 means absolutely nothing, right? For this though, I'm just going to say print, and we're going to have 10 minus 5 equals, and then that way it's just a little bit more clear. So 10 minus 5 equals 5. So that's it for this video. If you have any questions on variables, comments, syntax, the print function, data types, please let me know in the comments, and I will do my best to respond to them. And if you want to see more, hit that subscribe button. Thanks.